Hey everyone, nice to meet you all. I'm Craig De Silva, co-founder and managing partner of Straightforward. I've got a couple of slides here to kind of talk you through this interesting topic, which is the pandemic pivot. To give you a quick overview, really, of what we do as a business, and then really what this pivot was in terms of when everything was kind of slowing down and impacting the bottom line of our business, how we really pivoted from that. And added another vertical that so far has turned out to be quite lucrative for us and really differentiated us in terms of another unique service offering that we are able to provide. So in a nutshell, we're a full-service comms and digital consultancy built for the new decade. We have operations across Dubai, Dublin, and Geneva. We pride ourselves in operating a complete, true remote workplace environment. Our employees are not required to come into a typical office. We have the digital tools and the digital stack to really run a very, very seamless and efficient operation across time zones and across borders, servicing obviously our clients across these markets in a super efficient manner. So that in a nutshell is what we do. This idea of who Straightforward is really came about by myself and my partner, Richard. Richard's going to be talking to you guys about our core digital offerings next week. But I'm here to kind of give you an overview, as I said earlier, about the impact of COVID-19 when it did hit not only our businesses, but businesses across the world, and then how we kind of identified a gap and move forward with it. In a nutshell, a lot of our clients are primarily semi-government and large-scale B2B businesses, which is, I guess, beneficial in terms of where this narrative and where these slides are kind of leading to. When the pandemic hit, and I'll take everyone through this horrific timeline, as we are all aware. So, the first cases of COVID-19 were somewhere around November last year. By January and February of this year, everyone started to see the global spread. Governments around the world started to implement their shutdowns and lockdowns circa March of 2020. And then obviously following that, you had product shortages and etc. And when I talk about product shortages here, what we found is between December and January, a lot of our clients started to reach out to us, not in a formal way, but in an off-chance conversation and ask us things like, do you have any contacts for personal protective equipment? Are you able to source us with, medical supplies? And the reason these conversations really happened was because obviously Richard and my background, we've worked across markets and across global industries for the large part of our career. And obviously from our side, this wasn't our core business with respect to our clients, but it was an opportunity to kind of help them and bridge the gap. So, as we started to get more of these inquiries through, my partner and I, we had a discussion and said, look, clearly there's a gap here within this market. Now, number one, it's a market where we don't know a lot about, but surely if there is this gap and if there is this need, there's got to be a way for us to leverage on our network of partners, suppliers, etc., across borders and deliver on this need in an efficient way. So I think the first thing we did was really understanding what the situation is. And I think everyone will remember when everything started to close down circa, February, March of this year, the big thing was masks. Everyone needed masks. Everyone wanted masks. And when we started to look at this logistical chain of, where masks are produced and how do they get to the end buyer, and by nature of that, the end consumer, the typical journey is really illustrated at the bottom part of this slide, where you have manufacturers on one side, obviously with massive and large-scale production capability, and you've got the buyers on the other side, which in theory should be a very seamless transaction. But then you have what we like to call middlemen and brokers. And what we noticed very quickly was that buyers typically wanted to deal with the end manufacturers, but because there was so much clutter in the market and so much noise around these products, there were individuals and smaller companies kind of entering the market and claiming to represent manufacturers directly. And what that really did is, if a manufacturer is manufacturing a mask for $1.50, and this is just an example, an indicative price, when you start adding and understanding the multiple layers of middlemen, brokers, and sales agents in between, by the time it gets to the end buyer, typically the situation that the end buyer was encountering was paying 30, 40, 50, 100, 200% more than what the product actually should be going for. From our side, what we kind of cracked very early is if there was an efficient way for us to really connect the manufacturers on one side and the buyers on the other, and really get rid of everything in between and really declutter the situation, then there's a real opportunity to do quality business at scale, for sure. But more importantly, when it's a manufacturer and buyer dealing directly, and when I refer to buyers here, for the large part, when this first started out, it was primarily a lot of our larger government and private clients. And what we could offer them, which was very different, is granted we didn't know a lot about the industry, but the one good thing that we saw is that our reputation with our clients was obviously something that's built on trust, built on quality, built on efficiency, and built on pricing. Now, if we could offer those same core principles and values within our own organization, and offer, bridging this gap as a secondary service, then our rationale was there's no reason why we wouldn't succeed. So we started it out, obviously, initially, the first and important bit was really understanding, there were so many types of masks. And I mean, mask is something that we first looked into. But we also didn't want to be the type of company to really move away from, our core marketing offering. Whereas we looked at it as more along the lines of, we've got the network, we've got the access to these manufacturers. Maybe we just bridge the gap, connect the buyer. We don't offer the buyer any kind of service fee or anything like that. And the manufacturer pays us a finder's fee or a commission directly, but it's a win-win situation. The buyer is then dealing with a trusted source, at source, direct from the manufacturer. And the manufacturer, from their perspective, we're helping them get trusted buyers. And again, the product is of quality. The entire process is a lot more seamless and efficient. And obviously then everyone benefits from the optimized pricing strategies. So we kind of looked at it from that perspective. I can tell you when this started out as an idea, I knew next to nothing about anything in the PPE or medical industry. Obviously, for us to benefit our buyers and clients with that credibility and trust, we needed to do our homework. So it really took a period of time where we were studying up and reading up, and any and all material and media that we could consume to really understand what we're talking about. So when we did approach both manufacturers as well as buyers, we knew what we were getting into. So we didn't want to come across as amateurs, but we also did not want to be taken for a ride or scammed, as a lot of individuals may know, which was happening in the market. So in a nutshell, this was kind of the approach that we envisioned. And this was really how it all started. And I mean, in terms of just numbers and quick high-level success, we can talk you through it. Back in January, we really focused purely on medical masks. So the KN95 masks, and those are the KN95 3M respirators, as well as the 3 different types of surgical masks. Now, from that small piece of business and really bridging the gaps, it has blown into something beyond Richard's or my expectations, where today, we are in a position to offer everything from masks to gloves to gowns to eyewear to footwear. In terms of medical devices, ICU-rated ventilators that are manufactured in Canada, infrared thermometers, disinfected gates and tunnels. Obviously, recently, as governments and countries and individuals and businesses have really ramped up their testing protocols, which are the IV diagnostic devices, we've got 6 COVID-19 test kits direct from manufacturers that we can offer. And I think the reason why we were able to scale this up, number one, so quickly, and number two, as efficiently as we have, is that we really spent the time to find the right partners. We try and work with partners on the manufacturer side that share the same values, that have a very direct and simplistic way of doing business, but also from the buy side, that has this very, like our name says, straightforward, no nonsense approach to this type of industry. Because unfortunately, what we saw earlier on is that this particular field, as it started to grow and scale, was highly corrupt, filled with anyone and everyone claiming to be experts in it. So we didn't really want to go down that route. We really kind of focused and grew this out very quickly, but also sticking to our core values, which is trust, responsibility, efficiency, and obviously that transparency between manufacturer and buyer. And just some stats in terms of numbers. Today we look back on it and we have a true global product offering and product footprint. We try and work with the best in-class manufacturers from around the world in terms of the partnerships that we bring. And what we've seen is that starting out with the entire the medical mask play, those both manufacturers as well as buyers have then introduced us to kind of all of the other varied products that you see there. So it's really something that has grown based on trust and reliability. And obviously being a digital first firm, not being able to travel and have meetings and sign contracts was completely seamless for us. We're used to operating remotely. We had the technical infrastructure to kind of onboard whoever we needed to as and when the need arose. The sky's the limit. I mean, I get this question asked by some of our clients today that, is Straightforward going to add on this medical division full time? And it's a tricky one. We've done about $100 million in revenues this year, because obviously these items are a very hot ticket commodity and move very quickly. It's a tricky question to answer. I think the real lesson here for us is that times were difficult globally for everyone. We saw an opportunity in the market through the needs of our existing clients, and we really leveraged on it in the right way. But more importantly, we executed in the right way. And we didn't execute by trying to be something completely different and something completely new, but really focusing on our core values as a digital consultancy and a digital marketing consultancy, and really pivoting from that to this secondary vertical that we've now got in play. So yeah, the short answer is, do we see us continuing this for the long term? The short answer is we don't know. But it's a very unique opportunity, and obviously we're super thankful for both our partners and the manufacturer partners that we deal with that have enabled us to be as successful as we have so far. I tried to keep it as short as possible. Obviously, there's a lot more in terms of the back end work and research that really went into this, especially from a legal standpoint, as you can imagine. But I'm available if you guys would like to reach out to me directly, or during the panel, the roundtable, I think it is in about 20 minutes or so. So thank you.